Hi, all. For those who don't know me, I'm Adham Chalabi, currently located in Colombia, and I'm excited to present this presentation on perception as projection. Quite not what you might think of when you think of perception as projection as an NLP. I remember every time when I had any issue with the internet, or people ask me, what are you projecting on that for the internet to work? Or if the computer stopped working, I'm like, people will be like, what are you projecting on that? And for some reason, that will just bother the living crap out of me when everybody asks me, why are you projecting? Why are you projecting? Why are you projecting? And I remember thinking, there's just something awfully wrong with that question. At some level, even malignant, where it can become gaslighting and just not the right approach. So this issue and debate on perception actually has been around since the beginning of thought, with thinkers such as Plato, Aristotle, Heraclitus, and into modern and postmodern thinkers such as Nietzsche, Jung, Freud, uh, Immanuel Kant, John Locke, just to mention a few. This is just a smart way of mine of saying it's a very complicated issue, and I'm not going to pretend to give you everything you need to know in this short presentation. Although Simon, gracefully enough, invited me to do a longer version of this in the podcast. So thank you, Simon. What I am actually hoping to achieve here is to give you a new perspective on what constitutes perception. Is it merely just your projection? Is that it is? There's nothing else to our perception than that. Some school teaches that perception is projection. And they also teach that everything is your projection, to the point of taking that concept way too far. I heard a trainer saying that if an 8-year-old girl gets raped at 8-year-old, it's because she projected that into her reality. I heard this other guy who was dancing along the line of saying that if kids in Africa were starving and dying because they projected that into reality. And my favorite one is when this coaching assistant that I heard of got late to the training room, and then they asked her, why are you late? She said, well, there was a car accident in my way here. And they asked, wow, did you project to create that in your reality? Something about those questions is really, really wrong about them, where they're trying to make you take responsibility where you don't have responsibility on. So I'm not here to throw rocks at any trainer. Well, maybe I have, but I'm actually here to give you a new perspective of the concept and expand it using the thoughts of people far greater than I am, such as Nietzsche, Dr. Peterson, René Descartes, John Vervaeke, and so more. So with that said, I also want to be critical about this. I am not either criticizing the concept of perception as projection, rather the extreme use of it and the misunderstanding of the concept. So with that said, let's get into the bone of the matter. What is perception? Is it just your projection? Is that what you're doing is you perceive the subjective world that you project? Or do you perceive the objective world of matter? To borrow the word from John Vervaeke, perception is transjective. It's neither entirely objective nor entirely subjective, but rather the integration and the interaction between those two. We don't passively perceive the world. We don't receive passively what we perceive. Neither are we actively imposing what we project onto the world, but rather the relationship between those two. Vervaeke works on this issue with the concept of relevance realization. Relevance realization is the cognitive process by which you assign relevancy to what you perceive. Quite literally, we perceive what's relevant to us. What does that mean? Well, there's this exercise that has been done over the period of years, and you might have heard of this actually, where we tell people, a group of people, look around and find every single blue object you can. Then 15, 20 seconds later, they come back and we ask them, how many chairs did you count? And they're like, well, none. You didn't tell me to count chair. Exactly. The chairs weren't relevant to their task at hand. Therefore, they didn't perceive it. They didn't know how many were they. Even the red dots or the red objects were not perceived because it wasn't relevant to their task. What this means is whatever you focus on, whatever your aim is, will determine what you see, will determine what you perceive. This is relevance realization. Now, what does it mean that we perceive what is relevant? How is our mind chooses, for lack of a better word, what is relevant? Is it through our filters, our thoughts, emotions, through our meta programs, our personality, belief, values? Is it through all that? Well, yes, and that's just half the equation because that is your subjective reality. There still is a world outside your mind, the objective world, and it's the interaction of them both that creates your perception. So for example, if I wake up one day and I wanted to eat breakfast and I choose to go to the bakery and get myself some breakfast and I see a piece of shit in my way there, does that mean that I am projecting that piece of shit in my reality? Therefore, there's something inside of me that feels like that? No, right? It's ridiculous. But yet, a lot of people still ask that question. If I perceive a piece of shit in my way, it is because it is an obstacle towards my aim of going to the bakery. It's an obstacle that I rather not step into. So what do we perceive? I didn't perceive the Kia on the corner of the street. I didn't perceive the people that are walking the other side of the street. I perceive meaning. I perceive obstacles and tools. And so do you. What does it mean? How does our mind chooses what is relevant to perceive? Anything that helps you get your aim, a tool, or anything that gets you away from your aim, an obstacle. That is what you project into the world. Obstacles and tools. That is the meaning we end up projecting. I'm not going to go deep into the obstacles due to time, but I will tell you this is when we enter a new environment, meaning when we face a new challenge, new genes within us code for new proteins. Again, that's another smart-ass way of saying that when you confront a challenge, a difficulty, and you actually confront it, you don't just overcome it. You become more resilient. You become more stronger, more confident, more capable. For lack of a better word, you become more of who you are capable of being. That is why the obstacle arises. Like, look at it this way. If you set a goal right now, and you all had this experience, that you set a goal and immediately obstacles like limiting belief or a physical obstacle will show up in your perception. If you set a goal and you see an obstacle here, but you're well on time, all you have to do, if you see my hand, is a 1-degree shift, so small shift because you're well on time, in a proper space, you can do a 1-degree shift to overcome that obstacle and be somewhere else. But a lot of the thing that people in the NLP community unfortunately do is they just want to project their perfect reality. They want to project away any challenge. And to the point that they're so close to the challenge now, that now they have to do a 90-degree shift, consuming way more energy and becoming so much difficult to overcome that challenge. Or just like many people do, they just crash into it. That is what obstacle rises, whether we are learning a new skill, building a relationship, or creating anything new. The obstacle is not a way to stop you. Paradoxically, it's a sort of necessary pathway towards your growth to become who you have to be to gain the aim you're setting yourself to get. That is the purpose of the obstacle. That is the active purpose of your projection, of your perception. Sorry. But we still have an issue with perception. And that is we will project also our unconscious, unprocessed materials. And kind of the issue around perception is who has the proper perception, who has the proper grip of reality. For example, if I want to become a great public speaker, my unconscious material will come up saying like, I have a weird accent, I speak fast, and nobody's gonna take me seriously, and all kind of stuff. And all that model into my perception. So how do we solve the problem, the issue of perception? Let's take this subject and put it on the side, and I'll come back to that. In the case of somebody who got late onto a meeting because there was a car accident into their way to work, it's not that they projected that into their reality, it's that they had to perceive that as an obstacle that to get them to the meeting on time. Or maybe, just maybe, they didn't want to be in the meeting altogether. And the car accident or the traffic was actually a tool for them to get 30 minutes of peace. I'm going to be honest. You have to be in a room with people that all the time ask me every 5 words that I say, what are you projecting? What are you projecting? What are you projecting? I wouldn't want to be there either. So I don't blame them. Anyways, coming back to subject. How do we solve the issue of perception? Is it through a fancy NLP technique? Is it through a sophisticated language pattern? Is it with a well-trained coach? Not necessarily. It's with something way deeper, with the foundation, with the common foundation every single healing technique has. And that is something around aligning yourself with truth and reality. Because when you align yourself with reality and you speak the truth, you align yourself with reality by definitions, instead of trying to bend it to your naive will. Like, you do not create your reality by trying to bend it to your will. You create your reality by aligning yourself with it first. Every single healing modality, whether it's NLP, coaching, breath work, any kind of therapy, EMDR, IFS, and so on and so forth, has a common denominator, has a common pattern, has a common foundation that makes them work for a client. Like, haven't you asked yourself, why does a client change when you do a parts integration or a breakthrough session or any kind of therapy? Why do they change? What makes change in people? And that's something around the line of the pursuit of truth. The pursuit of truth is a common pattern. To use the word from Jordan B. Peterson, speak the truth, or at least don't lie. Now, again, let's take that subject and put it on the side. I'll be back on that, I promise. French philosopher Michel Montaigne said that the truth is unreachable to man, because for the truth to be the truth, it must exist outside of any contradiction. Which means, basically, if I say, I know the truth, I have the truth, look at this, make parts integration this way, follow the script, because this is the truth. Taking that attitude equals negating the truth. Therefore, Michel formulated that the truth is only reachable to the gods, and the truth can only be defined by its own word. The truth is the truth. Taking back the work from Jordan and Carl Rogers, the humanist psychologist, the truth is not a fact. The truth is not a thing that you have within you. The truth is a process, rather. The truth is the process by which you properly formulate what constitutes the truth. That is a meta definition. That is a meta truth right there. The truth is how you formulate the process of formulating a proper truth in the moment. Now let's unpack that one. What does it mean, proper formulation? Well, I believe that whatever is proper, because that's the issue of perception. What is proper? That is the issue that we have in perception. Who has the right perception? Who has the right interpretation? And I believe that whatever is proper is the most personal question you can ask yourself, and you must answer for yourself. But to give you a starting point on where to answer that, I'll borrow the word from Nietzsche. Proper is that a constitute of that which is life affirming. Does it affirm your life? Does it affirm your life? Does it affirm others' life? Does it affirm the world's life? Like, limited decision does not affirm your life. Negative emotion could either affirm or hinder your life. So whatever is proper, whatever proper formulation is whatever affirms your life. The other thing that proper presupposes is that it has to change and must change. Because whatever affirms your life today didn't 10 years ago and most likely won't 10 years from now. So it's something ever growing. It's something that must transcend with you, the pursuit of truth. Now, sorry for going with jargon. Let me translate all this into the NLP lingo. Truth is the process by which you properly formulate your internal model of the world, something around those lines. Truth is the process by which you properly formulate your internal model of the world. And that is what we do as coaches. We help a client to go from a model of the world that hinders them, that blocks them, that stalks them, that keep them little and don't want to speak up, in reshift and help them transform, help them shift, help them reframe into a model of the world that helps them gain courage, that helps them get breakthrough, that helps them face challenges, that face those difficulties. That process from one model of the world into the other, that process by whichever means you achieve with your client, NLP, hypnotherapy, IFS, any kind of therapy, that process is the truth. That is what makes any technique work, is the process. It's not the fancy technique. It's the underlying thing that makes all of them to work, that inspire transformation on people. That process we call the truth. Now, let me read you a quote from the before mentioned Dr. Peterson. As a clinician, I often witness that the curative and therapy to be the truth. This is characteristic of clinical experience and described explicitly by great clinicians and others, Carl Rogers, by the way. Truth is indeed what cures in therapy, and exposure to what you're afraid of and avoiding is a form of truth. I'm going to read that one again. Exposure to what you are afraid of and avoiding is a form of truth. So when you help your client to confront that which they avoid, to face their fears, to face those difficulties, that is a form of truth. This presupposes that truth is not just something you say with your words. Truth is something you act out, that you live by. For example, if you know there is a task you should undertake by your own set of rules, but you are avoiding it, then you are enacting a lie. If you know you should speak up, but you don't, that's acting out a lie. If you know there's something you must do, but you yet still avoid it, that is acting out a lie. Speak the truth, or at least don't lie. That aligns you with reality. And again, once you align with reality is when you can actually act within it and regain choices. Not trying to bend it, because trying to bend reality, I can guarantee you it's going to snap back at you sooner or later. Now I'm going to end with this, with Renee's first principle. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Renee argued that the very fact that you can doubt your own existence, meaning that you can doubt your thoughts, doubt your values, doubt what you think to be true, doubt what you believe, and formulate something else. The very fact that you can think about your thinking, that's evidence of your existence as an intelligent being. Later on the discourse, on the method, they reformulated into dubito ergo cogito ergo sum, which translates to I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am. I can assure you that if you're in a group of people that don't allow you to doubt them, that don't allow you to think anything outside what they think, you are among a group of people that are gonna just condemn you by the mere fact of being who you are. Doubt is the cornerstone of thinking. Doubt is the cornerstone of curiosity. And that is the attitude and the genius of neuro-linguistic programming.